What's going on YouTube? It's Tej, back again with another video, and today we're talking about the 2023 wide receiver class and our road and our way too early position power rankings and getting closer and closer to April. Hopefully you all enjoyed today's video. If you do, be sure to hit that like button and help me out a ton. If you're new around here, want to see more draft and football content in general, just hit that big red subscribe button. Tell me what you think about this wideout group. Who's your number one guy right now? How would you shake it out 1 through 5? And maybe who's somebody not on this list or in my honorable mentions that you think could get into the first round conversation? Love to have your thoughts. I respond to just about every comment down below. So let's talk about this wideout class in the comments section. If you missed my quarterback and running back videos, definitely go back and check those out. But very simple and straightforward structure. We'll talk about receivers 5 up to 1, and then we'll hit on my 5 honorable mentions. Let's waste no time. Jermaine Burton, transfer from Georgia, going to Alabama. Dude got open, and you really don't have to look hard. You can see it on the broadcast film, but go look up his name on Twitter. You'll see plenty of videos. Dude gets open. Nice size, too, 6 foot, right around 200, so you're not worried about, the ability to get off of press or anything like that. Ideal, solid build, and this is a receiver class with not a whole lot of that, so that's definitely something to be coveted. And Ace just coming from an offense where, Stetson Bennett was their quarterback. It's run heavy. That defense was, I want to say once in a lifetime, but we'll see. It might be just as good this year, but awesome defense. Running game, that's the identity. So, Stetson Bennett didn't allow Jermaine Burton to really thrive, but now he's going to a spot where he's playing with last year's Heisman winner. He's got a guy in the backfield, Jahmyr Gibbs, that is going to open up the pass once teams have to respect that rushing attack that Alabama has always had under Nick Saban. So I think this guy's in for, some big numbers this year. And, while you haven't seen the production follow suit, after you see Jameson Williams do something similar, right? Transfer from big-time Power 5 school, even beyond that, just one of the best programs in the country right now, and find an opportunity to seize on a starting chance at a school like Alabama. Worked out for Jameson Williams. A lot of people vouching for him to be the wide receiver 1 last year. He was in my tier 1 right there with Garrett Wilson and Drake London. And Jermaine Burton could certainly make that type of jump this year. Just can he stay on the field? He did have a groin injury that had him miss some time last year, but if he's healthy, I think he's going to put up some gaudy numbers this year. And then Jordan Addison. This is a kid who could sneakily, right now, I feel pretty good about Smith and Jigba being my wide receiver 1. I think he could hold on that spot. And Quinton Johnston, sneaky guy to become wide receiver 1. But, that spot is kind of up for grabs. And I don't know, Jordan Addison's this really sneaky, quick, shifty route runner. Him cutting in and out of breaks is maybe the best in this class. And then his ability to go up and win at the catch spot, winning contested catch situations, it's something to be admired, especially considering this kid is kind of more of a body type like a Devonta Smith. A little bit thin, but 6 foot thereabout. Goes up and wins at the catch point, like I said. So despite being a little slim, he has that physicality. He just kind of has some random drops. It got a decently high drop rate on open opportunities per Pro Football Focus. So cutting down on that, I can see closer we get to April, if he cuts down on those random drops that just kind of come out of nowhere and continues to win at the catch point, has those highlight reel plays, and is that shifty and that clean of a route runner. I mean, that's starting to sound, I don't want to say it's sounding Jerry Jeudy-like because he was never really a contested catch guy, but that's starting to have some Judaisms to it. We'll see. But this could be a guy who has his fans, and maybe there's people around April saying that he should be wide receiver 1. We'll see how this draft class shakes out, but Addison definitely has, that route running ability. If that's something you covet, which is definitely something I covet, that ability to get open, and he wins in, hard to win spots. Now it just comes down clean up on some of those simple mistakes, which they're simple mistakes. You would think that this kid could be able to clean that up, and now he's going to a Lincoln Riley system. He's got Caleb Williams transferring in from Oklahoma. Another year where, he's won the Blitnikoff last year. Maybe he repeats. We'll see. The numbers will tell that story. Kayshon Boutte at number 3. This dude is all speed. Any and all things speed. Good size, too, right around 6 foot and pretty solidly built. Track star in high school. Kind of talked about Devin A-Chain. Kayshon Boutte is kind of that in the wide receiver group. Can he stay healthy, right? Missed a lot of time over the last year and, even last 2 years, if memory serves. So can we see a full season out of Kayshon Boutte, or at least close to it? But, dude, that's speed talk. So no matter what, this guy's going to be hard to knock out of the first-round conversation because when you move like he does and you have solid hands and you're a good route runner, yeah, that's just – there's not going to be a whole lot that, even with injuries, that's only going to hold him back so much. So in a world that covets traits, in an NFL and a league that covets traits, Kayshon Boutte has a ton of them. If he can stay healthy, he's going to have some big numbers this year at LSU. Quinton Johnston comes in my number 2, and he's definitely got his fans. This may not be too, trendy sleeper pick here, but I am projecting all that to say TCU is not an offense that, kind of like talking about Stetson Bennett in Georgia. It's not one that's necessarily taking the top off of defenses week in and week out, but 6'4", 200 plus pounds. He's one of those few solid wide receivers. He can take on press coverage on the outside. He has the body of a true X, great hands, win to the catch point. He's got plenty of highlight-worthy real plays. I'd like to see what that route tree develops as, but he's also very slippery after the catch. Like 26 broken tackles last year, and that's like as many as Sky Moore had on almost half the targets. So the guy can be elusive and a factor at the line of scrimmage. Obviously, with that size and great speed to go with it, he's a vertical threat. Now, we'll see what that route tree shakes out to be. Can he become somebody who wins in the intermediate parts of the field? Because you combine that yak ability and the vertical traits, you already got 2/3 of that. Can he learn and develop that route tree and win, in that 10 to 20 yard range? If he does, then it's going to be hard not to say he's wide receiver 1 just because, Jackson Smith-Njigba isn't 6'4", right? And he may not be as fast, right? And so moving on to that, Jackson Smith-Njigba is almost kind of the complete opposite. We're just like the production's so gaudy, you don't really think about, this guy's not going to run in the low 4.3s, and he's not 6'4", and he doesn't have a lot of those things that make you think, wow, this guy can be NFL wide receiver. You look at Christian Watson, you're like 6'5", runs fast, like we remember the Calvin Johnson guy. He was pretty good. Maybe he's not that, but maybe he can be close to it. Quinton Johnston is that guy, and Jackson Smith-Njigba was kind of the antithesis of that. And he works primarily out of the slot. He is a little slim, so maybe he's able to put on some weight. But it'll be interesting to see if he stays working in that slot role or if he kicks out to the outside. So it's Ohio State wide receiver room that's going to be loaded no matter what. But when Jackson Smith-Njigba was outproducing 2 first-rounders, and Garrett Wilson was taking the top 10, and then Chris Olave was taking, 11 by the Saints, when you're outproducing them, that's saying something. So maybe that plays a large part because of the chemistry with CJ Stroud. But if that's the case, then one more offseason, those guys are going to be thinking the other one's thoughts. So can't wait to see the production. And really, is he going to live in the slot primarily? Because like almost 90% of his snaps last year were in the slot. Does he venture out and learn to play on the outside? That being said, even if he stays in the slot, Ohio State's offense and how it was run's a little different than what Justin Jefferson found himself in with the LSU Tigers on the way to maybe the best college football team and season in history. But Justin Jefferson's a lot of that work from the slot, and I have not seen anything holding him back once he had to play and produce from the outside. He's been top 3 wide receiver in my eyes. So yeah, Jackson Smith-Njigba could totally do something similar, but if he can prove it while doing it in college, sticking on the outside, it's going to be hard to knock him off this wide receiver 1 spot. And again, without unbelievable athletic traits, this guy is just a polished, smart, and productive wide receiver. And, I think a lot of that has to go credit to Brian Hartline. He has had such an incredible tenure as a wide receiver coach there at Ohio State, his alma mater, and he's just churning out first rounders left and right. And, Jackson Smith-Njigba feels like the latest of that bunch. Let's talk about some honorable mentions. Josh Downs, another guy who worked primarily from the slot, 5'11", right around 170. So probably have to do something similar at the NFL level unless he gains some poundage and some muscle and can overcome press coverage. But right now, even just as like a vertical slot, I'm intrigued. And him and Sam Howard created big plays left and right last year. We'll see without Howell here, how much that deep ball is lost. But unbelievable vertical traits. And even if, given the quarterback play, I think, NFL teams and scouts are pretty smart to be able to say, hey, this is what he looked like with a guy who was, drafted in the NFL draft as a vertical receiver. When that was taken away, it wasn't the same, but this is what he can do with a guy who's now playing in the NFL. So I think that's already there and covered, but this dude's also super slippery. This guy's a jitterbug times 10 after the catch. So give him the ball at the line of scrimmage, throw it deep, 2 areas where he can do a whole lot. And, kind of like we were talking about Quinton Johnston, can he add that middle part? We'll see. De'Ami Brown didn't really have that in his route tree, and I don't know if, Mac Brown's really coached up these wide receivers to have that be something they need for that offense. So we're probably not going to see that. If I had to guess now, we're probably not. But, that's why he's on this honorable mention list. This could be a guy who, I love De'Ami Brown as a 3rd-round value, and I think there's still something to explore there at the NFL level. If you're a Washington fan, I'd look forward to that in year 2. But Josh Downs is like this day 2 pick. If you're looking for a guy who makes an impact from the slot, you can throw him bubble screens, get some cheap yardage and extension of the run game, but also a guy who can take the top off, stretch the field from that slot spot. Josh Downs is your guy. And then Raheem Jarrett and then Dante Demons. We'll kind of hit on both these Maryland guys at once. Raheem Jarrett, you're going to see this a lot, but there is some Stephon Diggs this. And, he's a 5-star that goes to Maryland, so of course, naturally, the situation lines up with that of Stephon Diggs. But, 6 foot, right around that 200-pound mark. So again, solid build. He has inside-outside versatility, and like I was talking about earlier, I am, with Jordan Addison, I am totally biased. Like, if there's one skill I want to see a wide receiver have, it is that route running. Can you get open for yourself? We will figure the rest out. If you can get open, we'll work on the hands. Just reel it in. That can be coached. Get on the jugs machine. We can work with that. Raheem Jarrett is silky smooth as a route runner. This guy gets open for himself. And this is a Maryland offense between Jarrett, Demas, honorable mention wide receivers, little Tua, Talea Tagovailoa, if memory serves. This offense could explode this year. Like, this Maryland team might be a sneaky fun one to watch, but Raheem Jarrett is this, he just looks like a wide receiver, ideal size, and polished route runner. Love that. Solid hands, and can win at multiple levels too. So that's obviously a big plus. And then Dante Demons is kind of almost the complete opposite, right? Awesome size, like 6'3", 220, maybe a little bit bigger than that. But where he doesn't win with, the route running that Jarrett does, this guy is a contested catch, tight window machine. He's got vice grips for hands, so hold on to it through traffic, so through hits at that point too. So very different wide receivers, which again just makes Maryland that much more interesting because these guys feel like a really nice complement. You have your big body, physical guy in Demas, and then I don't want to call it finesse, but your possession guy in Jarrett who can do a variety of things. And when you need him, Raheem Jarrett is right there. So I can't wait to see how it shakes out and how the numbers play out in targets as well. That kind of signals trust from a quarterback and trust from a play caller too. So who ends up getting more targets? That will be fascinating to see how we can break that tie. Because right now, obviously, honorable mentions, they're kind of receiver 7, receiver 8, if you want to call it that at this point. Then A.T. Perry from Wake Forest, and shout out to Trevor Sickman. He's probably not seeing this, but had him as his wide receiver 1. And I mean, I can understand, right? 6'5", awesome build, works over the middle of the field, 15 touchdowns last year. That offense is kind of inflating to that production, but like 1,200 yards too. Him and Sam Hartman have an awesome chemistry. Both those guys looking to take another step forward and improve their draft stock. A.T. Perry, I can understand why, people like Trevor Sickman and many others see him as, one of the best 5 receivers in this draft class, and maybe even more than that. So I just need to see, I feel like he's going to be a guy I need to see what those combine numbers look like, because, size is there, and honestly pretty shifty. He can create some openings there, especially working over the middle of the field, and that's kind of a big part of the Wake Forest offense in and of itself. So he has that ability, but kind of like, not fully comping him to David Bell, but once you see that 40 number over David Bell, it's like, yeah, you don't really notice that he's that slow on tape, but you still have to account he's a 4.6 guy. Now, I don't think A.T. Perry's going to be that slow, but he could be. I just don't have that number in front of me. I don't have that type of, connects or resources at my disposal. So depending on that 40 time, this guy's draft stock could shoot up into the top 5 easy, because this guy's, Drake London-esque speed, those late 4.4s into the 4.5, especially if he's anywhere in the 4.4s, this guy's going to be moving up. But, in that 4.5s range, I think that's fine given his size and his skill set. And again, this combo, he's not necessarily a tight end wide receiver hybrid, but how people have always labeled, tight ends as that safety blanket, the pacifier to a young quarterback. Feel comfortable, make an easy throw over the middle of the field. A.T. Perry kind of does that for this Wake Forest team. He's just not a tight end, he's just a 6'5" receiver, but I totally think that can translate to the NFL level. So again, depending on those measurables, which we'll have to wait and see, this guy could totally shoot up. But I have no reason to think he's not going to put up the production he did last year with Wake Forest and Sam Hartman. So I will totally be ready for his ascension through these wide receiver rankings. And the last guy I want to talk about, Jacob Counting. So transfer from UTEP, unbelievable, gaudy numbers, but taking on a full FCS and, Power 5 or Group of 5 schedule. So transcended that level of opposition, now a chance to do it at Arizona, which obviously that's huge. This is an opportunity for him to say, in the Pac-12 may not be the SEC or, the Big 12 or even the ACC, but it's still Power 5 football. And that non-conference schedule, you're going to see some of those squads. So I've actually seen kind of, differences in heights, but another one of those smaller guys, probably slot only, but made big plays left and right last year. So can he do that in the Pac-12? If he does, if he has that similar production, and I believe he's a senior, him and A.T. Perry are both guys that, if my memory serves, and they both are seniors, Perry is for sure, but I'm pretty sure Counting is as well. If they go to the Senior Bowl and show out there, or even the East-West Shrine Bowl, and they ball out there, these guys' stocks are going to be on the rise. And, for Counting, maybe it's not a first-round conversation, but, that day 2 mix as an impact slot receiver, especially for a team that's looking for speed, someone to get over the top and make some big plays, add that element to their offense, Jacob Counting could totally be that guy. So that's kind of my early impressions on this 2023 wide receiver class. And there's plenty of people I left off. Parker Washington from Penn State's a guy who immediately comes to mind, could totally be the next Jahan Dotson type. So Tell me what you think about this 2023 wide receiver draft class. Who's somebody I left off that you think should have been included? And who do you think could totally make that rise in the top 5 and maybe even become wide receiver 1 by the time we get to April? Love to have your thoughts, and I respond to just about every comment. So let's talk about these wideouts down below. Hopefully you all enjoyed, and if you did, be sure to hit that like button to help me out a ton. If you're new around here, want to see more football content, just hit that big red subscribe button. That's going to do it for me. Hope you all have a fantastic rest of your day. And until next time, my name is Tej, and I'm signing off.